Hi, welcome. My name is Dr. Flynn. I'm from Reading Animal Clinic. I'm here today to talk about these packs that we have for puppies and kittens. This is part 2. This is the kitten pack. I just want to kind of go through what's in it, kind of go through some general information for you guys just before your appointment so you can ask more pointed questions. In the pack we have a handout that's just a welcome letter. Just excited to meet your new kitten, and it talks about vaccines as the first point. We talk about core versus non-core vaccines. Core vaccines are these life-threatening, really important vaccines that we need to do for our cats, regardless of whether they're indoor and outdoor. And most people are familiar with the rabies vaccine. The distemper is another one. Distemper is this hardy virus that's in the environment. It can be carried in on our shoes. So even if they're inside cats, we do recommend those 2 vaccines. Non-core vaccines are based on lifestyle and risk. So for that, we talk about cats that are going outside, maybe roaming, feeling like leukemia is something in our area that we want to protect our cats for. Generally, your doctor may recommend a blood test before doing that vaccine, and then that's boosted every year. When we talk about testing, we talk about internal parasite testing as well. Often we'll ask you to bring a poop sample to your appointment, and the handout kind of talks about what different parasites we see commonly in the area. Next on here is a pet poison hotline. If your cat were to ingest something that it wasn't supposed to ingest, we'd ask that you call the pet poison hotline. They are there every day, all day. It's 24 hours, so it's a really good resource for you. If your pet has a microchip, which we'll talk about a little bit later, if it's activated and their policy is live, they can give you a free call. So the pet poison is actually included in your Home Again microchip. So just keep that in mind when you're calling them. Other important information in this document is things like emergency care, which we'll talk about too. We don't like to think about emergencies, but it's good to have a plan in place just in case. Okay. Next in here, we kind of have a little short handout from our poison control hotline about common household dangers for cats. They're mostly talking about things like lilies. That's the worst one that we'll see. Of course, there's other kind of toxins too. So just kind of give this a read through and just make sure our kitten isn't getting into too much trouble. For emergencies, we typically recommend Blue Pearl. They have a location in Waltham and a location in Charlestown. If it is a life-threatening emergency, like our pet's having a hard time breathing or we're bleeding or something like that, and we can't get to these locations, Mass Vet in Woburn is our closest emergency center, but we try, if we can, get you to Waltham or Charlestown. The experience is just a little bit better. When we talk about the microchip, we use the Home Again chip system. It is something that can be placed at any time. Generally, we do it at the time of the spay or the neuter, and the reasoning for that is just because it's a big needle. That's really it. Microchipping is basically a tattoo under the skin, so it's a unique number for your pet. If your pet were to get lost and show up at a shelter or a vet's office, the first thing they would do is scan it and find that number and look it up in a database, and then from there they can call you and say, hey, we have your pet, come to us, we have them safely. So it's something definitely to consider, especially if you have an outside cat. I really would recommend that. In here we have just our overall brochure, just welcoming to our clinic. It has our hours in the back. For our cats, we have something called Meows Days. Meows Days are very, very interesting. We close the clinic for dogs unless it's an emergency, but it's nice and quiet. It's cats only. We put out cat toys. We have pheromones out, which is just something to kind of help relieve some anxiety. It's basically a cat smell that only cats can smell, but it's just supposed to help them be a little bit less nervous, because cats can be a little scared here. They're very reactive to the barking dogs, that kind of thing. So if you have an anxious cat and you're nervous, definitely consider a Meows Days. Those are typically every other Tuesday between 4 and 8 p.m. Okay. We have in here a good handout about how to pill a cat. A lot of times cats are tricky. They're not as easy as dogs giving medications. Dogs, you can generally put in a piece of cheese or something delicious and they'll eat it without a problem. Cats can be a little trickier. So we have like a little handout on how to give a cat a pill, and it talks about the different steps in there. Okay. In here too is a Kitten 101 manual. It talks about just different care, about litter boxes, about kind of grooming, water bowls, toys, collars, all of that. It's just a good information handout. If you've never had a cat before, definitely give that a look. The last thing I want to talk about is insurance. Insurance is a nice option to consider even for cats. basically that we have two different policies that we'll see most commonly at the clinic. Embrace is like an all-encompassing policy. It covers your wellness kind of exams, your emergencies, that kind of thing. Trupanion's more of like an uh-oh policy, like they cover if the pet were to eat a string or need surgery, that kind of thing. That's kind of where they have most of their coverage. Today with your exam, you will get one of these brochures. These are very valuable. They are basically waive that 30-day waiting period that you would normally have to go through. You give them a call within 24 hours of your exam, and you get a free month of insurance. And it gives you time to kind of weigh your options, decide what works best for you and your family, but it keeps them covered in the meantime. So it is really valuable. So we would encourage you to look into it. When you're comparing insurances, there's a handout on how to compare them and again figure out kind of what works best for your family. So I know it's a lot of information to kind of go through. Again, we're trying to get this together for you guys before your appointment, so you can ask questions. Often we'll ask you to bring a fresh poop sample, and that's to help with those parasite screens, and then your doctor can talk to you from there about other testing that's recommended. We look forward to seeing you guys. Take care.